what Nick and I want to talk to you about is a particular type of crowdfunding. As you'll see from the slide behind me, what we specifically want to talk about is crowds and how crowds can drive community giving through businesses and brands. I'm going to get Nick to talk about the platform in a little bit more detail, but before Nick takes you through the platform, I wanted to take you back to something that Epi talked about in his opening remarks. So this is a little bit test to see who's been listening and paying attention. So if you remember, Epi talked about the 5 Ps of the crowd. Who remembers what the 5 Ps were?
I do.
Participation, yep. People, purpose, productivity. Hobbs? You're already getting to the evening's events. Platform, correct. But what normally happens with crowds is we get very excited, we can jump straight into the platform, straight into the productivity, because we want it to work. But what I want to do before I hand over to Nick and talk about the platform and how the platform is productive is start with the people. Because one of the things that Innate Motion specializes is understanding people. And we strongly believe that if you get the people part right, that will take care of the productivity. Now, some of you I met last night, I met today, I've handed over my business card. This is the world's most shameless plug ever, the world's largest business card. But apart from the shameless plug, part of the reason was to share what we call ourselves at Innate Motion. So as you'll see, we actually call ourselves business humanizers. So hopefully most of you are saying, what the hell is a business humanizer? Maybe some of you already get it, because it's interesting. A lot of the conversations already today, we've talked a lot about people, a lot about business. And what we think at Innate Motion, what we observe is that far too many organizations apply way too much business logic to humans and not enough human logic to business. And as a result, what happens is we have these conversations that are based on products, on categories. We talk about very traditional stuff like functional benefits, emotional benefits. But actually, what excites people is stuff that's much more substantial, much more meaningful. And if we can change the conversation, help people build ideas around things that actually matter to people, guess what? People actually want to hear what we have to say, want to get involved with us. So what we do is we try and shift that conversation. So we try and move from conversation around things like baby milk to parenthood, from motorbikes to freedom, from ice cream to social justice and equality. And when you start having those sort of conversations, not surprisingly, people want to join in. They want to be part of what you're doing. And that same principle we try and apply to crowds, because ultimately crowds are just a collection of people. It's a community. So if we can understand what's the motivation behind a crowd, then we can get them to join in greater numbers, to engage more heavily, and ultimately to commit, which makes a huge difference to either the success of the project, or if you're in crowdfunding, the ease with which you can get people to part with their money. And so it's trying to think about, beyond the surface level, really what is the motivation of that crowd? Is it a desire for a shared adventure, maybe? Is it a search for more belonging and community? Maybe it's a desire to come together and care for others. Or maybe it's a desire to utilize your skill set, to participate, to contribute. But it's by understanding really what's behind the crowd that we really can unlock the power of that crowd. Now, having got that crowd, what we want to do is then create some sort of impact. And the only way you can create impact is through behavior. Behavior, ultimately, action is what you need to make a change, to do something. And something else that we observe is quite often we have these conversations with clients when all they want to talk about is not behavior, but behavior change. And I'd ask the question, why? Because if you understand people, and hopefully we're all people in this audience, at least some of the time, we're actually quite stubborn, we're quite set in our ways, and we don't actually like change. So why do we always try and change behavior? Why don't we try and find existing behaviors or behavior patterns and use those to drive the change or the action that we're looking for? And the good news is quite often those behavior patterns actually exist in social structures. And that means that you're not just driving behavior, you're driving behavior at scale, which is great news if you've got a crowd that's trying to make a change. And one such existing social structure is business. So if you think about business, what is business? It's human resources, it's financial resources, it's employees, the suppliers, partners, customers, consumers. And if you could take that existing community, that existing network, and use the resource and power behind it, what could you do if you used that to drive some good in the world? And that's exactly what Neighbourly does. So I want to hand over to Nick now to take you through a little bit of what Neighbourly has been doing.
Thank you, Jeff. So, that's a bit louder. Jeff is right, I have built a platform, but it's so important to look at this platform through the lens of human meaning, because if we're talking about existing practices, existing behaviours, it's really important to understand how a platform can help facilitate more of what already happens. I'm going to start off by taking Jeff's human meaning framework and simply localise that. Let's bring it back to real life, just through changing some of the pictures. Exploring can happen within 300 feet of your own back door, but it probably doesn't happen for most of the kids today in the way that it did for our generation. They're probably not crawling around in the rivers like I did. From a belonging perspective, this can be about you participating in a local community group or helping others to feel like they belong. Caring is something that happens in most communities just outside the front door. And again, at a participation level, there are lots of things that happen where groups come together to get things done. But I think most people would probably say, I don't really know what happens in my community. I perhaps have some sense of the need, but where do I go? How do I get started? Where do I go to find out about these things? And so maybe this is the outer ring of this human meaning matrix, is community. And maybe that thing that a lot of people say we've lost a bit, and actually it would be great to get back. How do we use a platform to bring the sense of community back to people where they live? And I'm then going to put brands in the middle of that, which initially might feel slightly incongruous. Brands right in the middle of our community. Well, the fact is that is where they are. They touch us all every single day, many of them physically in the shops and their presence on the high street. So they are omnipresent within our local life. And the fact is they also already do quite a lot of good that in many instances goes unnoticed by us as citizens within society, but also by head office, because it's pretty hard to track what every single branch, what every single store, what every single employee is actually doing. And that's going to proliferate as increasingly companies give more volunteering time to their people. So I'm going to put Neighbourly right in the middle of that as a platform that's trying to help create a framework around human meaning at a local level just to allow more to happen. So what we've done is we've built a digital marketplace that can connect anything that a company has to offer to a project and anything that they think they need at a local level. So that can be volunteering days, it can be funding, and it can be in kind. And we've started with surplus redistribution. We're connecting food from the back of supermarkets, full Marks and Spencers, to community projects right the way across the country. Because there is so much goodwill and desire from business to do more, to scale this up, if only it were easier to do. So the Neighbourly platform is a digital marketplace with companies on one side setting out what it is that they are able to help with, making a pledge of amount of time and amount of funding, and projects, anything that anyone can conceive at a local community level saying, this is what we need help with, and socialising that amongst friends and neighbours. So the first thing that's happening here is, first of all, it's easy to find out what's going on within 3 miles of your own back door, to make a simple contribution by getting involved, liking a project, talking about it, sharing it across your social networks, even if you can't then go even further and perhaps put in 20 quid or volunteer a day of your time. I'm not going to show you loads of slides of the platform. I haven't got time, but I want to get on to the storytelling, because that's the really important part. And this whole concept of participation that brands are able to really now start to leverage with a platform like this. You can probably just make out that on this bar of 238 volunteering days, you've got 2 colours there. This is the amount of time that Marks and Spencer's volunteered with their colleagues, and this is what their customers did to make up the difference. So what's happening there is M&S are saying, we're going to encourage our employees to volunteer for a local community project. Maybe it needs 20 people. The store will send 3. We'll then ask our customers if they're able to fill the 17 remaining spots. Now you start to think about the amplification effect of business using a platform to use their scale for good and encouraging participation by making it easy. This is a brand that everybody trusts. I've been invited to go along. I think I'll do that. So it's activation and amplification of society to start engaging in purpose in a way that we all have to because of the way the world is changing. And I said it's all about stories. The stories are fascinating and so important because brands, when they start to apply their creativity to causes, to localization, to helping people, can really inspire people to do more. They can inspire their own staff to do more and understand the meaning of their engagement. And they can start to collaborate, yes, with their customers, but also with their peers, because most businesses today will tell you, we want to participate, we want to combine to use our collective force for good. I've got 3 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock, and these are about a minute long each. So let's play Fraser first. This is a young man at a Starbucks store. He'll tell his own story. The second film is a more collaborative film about business, employees, and the local community and what they've done together. And the third film is very quick insight from companies as to why they want to use this platform. Thank you.
Working for a company like Starbucks makes it easy to be the person you want to be.
I think that we've got a duty to help when we can.
You want to buy into Fraser's enthusiasm, you want to help him.
Every time I come in, he's always got a smile on his face. It's great.
He's got a massive heart.
He treats everyone the same. There's not one person treated any differently, and it's a unique thing to have. Starbucks have always been there, whether it's money, whether it's coffee, whether it's cups, it's lids, they've been fantastic.
When I look at my workforce, they're all very young, figuring out what they want to do with their life, and we make that difference early on, and we let them see what they could do.
At the time, I was like, yeah, I'm just helping out. But then when I really thought about it, and thought about all the people I was helping in that, it was a great feeling, giving something back.
Please don't cry, you know you're a lucky one.
It's more than a job when you work here because, yeah, you connect to people.
They always smile, always got a cheery face.
They're like wee mini celebrities, they don't care.
This goes to prove that Starbucks and particularly this team are very community focused.
The difference that you can make getting involved with charities as a partner, as an organisation, is phenomenal. And you will see the change. It's frightening. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Let's do the second film, but not the third one. We'll move on after the second one. Thank you.
I think we're all getting so engrossed now in life and work that we forget to think about other people.
There really is no better therapy for someone to be actually helping somebody else. It probably is the most self-fulfilling, wonderful thing you can do.
Very proud of M&S, very proud of what we're doing.
At the time, I was like, yeah, I'm just helping out. But then when I really thought about it, and thought about all the people I was helping in that, it was a great feeling, giving something back.
It's such a simple thing, but it's so essential for organisations like ourselves, because you can see the difference that they've made already in 24 hours.
Once you start something, it doesn't stop. You do stuff good for people and it carries on and on.
You can make a difference by a small thing, by a smile, by complimenting, by being a good person. It does go a long way because the effect of it is powerful and it makes people feel good throughout the day, really.
it just that makes us feel like what we're doing is worth carrying on with.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a case of giving something back, for want of a better word.
So they're just a couple of stories from projects that have been delivered through the platform. It's facilitated it, it's made it easy to find, it's captured the timeline, so companies are building a timeline of all the great projects they've done, but it's the stories that are so important for the brands and for the people. All of these people are members of staff, but members of the community as well. And so when you activate that sense that actually you can make a difference within your commercial capacity, within your company, you're really onto something, and then you really can start to build a crowd around community engagement. Jeff?
So just one final slide, some takeaways. Hopefully you get a sense from the Neighbourly case study of the real power within the crowd, and the power to do good, which is great, but to really maximise that power, 3 key lessons I'll leave you with. So 1, meaning is the most powerful motivator of people. So make sure you understand what is the meaning that drives people to participate. That impact comes from behaviour, and from that motivation you will naturally get behaviour. But think about how you can access existing behaviours, network patterns, social structures, because that's how you can drive greatest impact. So coming back to the 5 Ps, if you want a platform that's productive, start with the first P, people. Thank you.